Yeah, we're Nevada Exploration, and we're 100% focused at looking undercover. When I was here last time, I took a lot of time to tell you about why we think that looking undercover using groundwater chemistry is the way forward. What we've added to that since then, and what we also need to talk about is, okay, you can go find these targets undercover, what are you going to do with them? And the addition of bringing in some new low-cost drilling tools allow us to test more of these targets for less money before we have to commit to more expensive conventional drilling. So that's what I want to also emphasize today. With these tools, we're aggressively acquiring district scale plays in Nevada. Last year, we were the #1 junior for staking new claims in Nevada. In total, we were #4 after Kinross, Newmont, and Barrick. So we're going for it. Our exploration team's led by Wade Hodges. He's a longtime Nevada geo that's been involved with discovery deposits in Nevada north of 30 million. Altogether, we have about 52 million shares out after our reorg and some financings. Our market cap's just under 20 million. Board and management together own about 34% of the company. So yeah, our skin's in the game, and we're here to make a deposit along with all of our shareholders. Okay, how do we see through cover? So these deposits, while they may be blind visually on the surface, they're not blind geochemically. Covered deposits create meaningful signatures in the groundwater, and groundwater presents a perfect sampling medium that allows us to go across these covered areas very systematically and explore for these signatures. With 75% of their bedrock covered, the Australian industry is very keen on this, and they're really at the forefront of pushing what groundwater chemistry can do. It's part of what they call their Uncover initiative, and this is the largest industry and government-funded geoscience project ever in Australia's history. And part of that is a continental scale groundwater chemistry database, really a multi-commodity platform to support going into these covered spaces. The industry sponsors for the groundwater portion of this are everyone that you can think of, all the majors, Barrick, Newmont, Anglo, BHP, Rio Tinto. Everyone understands the power of what this can be, but no one really wants to go at it alone. Specifically with respect to gold exploration, what's really been a game changer for groundwater chemistry for gold exploration is that we now have lab tools that allow us to analyze groundwater samples directly for gold. Whereas previously we've had to rely on pathfinder elements like arsenic and antimony, today we can really pay attention to gold specifically. And with this new technology, these government researchers, both in Australia and in Nevada at the USGS, they're successfully delineating major covered gold camps using groundwater chemistry. John's always asked for some examples of this. So here on the right, this is an area of Western Australia, St. Ives in the eastern goldfields. And what we have is the covered junction deposit. It's about 2+ million ounces sitting under cover. What the Australian researchers did is with a 1 kilometer grid of purpose-drilled groundwater wells, they figured out that the flow of groundwater is from east to the west, down towards Lake Lefroy. And using these new lab technologies have been able to model the plume of enriched gold and groundwater downstream of the deposit. So this is very typical of what you see. Enriched concentration in the bedrock followed by a plume of gold and groundwater downstream of the deposit. This is what we're doing. It's incredibly powerful. It lets us go into these covered areas where we can't see anything, and all of a sudden, going, holy smokes, where's this gold and groundwater coming from? So we've brought groundwater chemistry to Nevada, and it's for a very specific reason. Today, there's no other jurisdiction in the world that produces more gold from such a small area. It's produced more than 200 million ounces, and more than half of this prolific mining jurisdiction is sitting there undercover. It's the perfect candidate for transitioning some of these new tools to starting to look undercover. We've had to develop new sampling protocols, acquire specialized equipment, build relationships with the labs, and in doing so over the last decade, we've now completed what's the world's largest groundwater chemistry exploration program for gold. On this map here, the blue dots represent 6,000 groundwater samples we've collected ourselves. The green dots are 50,000 historic groundwater samples that we've been able to acquire and digitize and bring into our database. And together with this really unmatched exploration database in the state, we've been able, and with our equipment, we're able to go into these basins that everyone else is interested in looking at and able to reduce them down to projects of interest for less than $1,000 per square kilometer. And this is really unprecedented. There's no other exploration technology, any other geochemistry technology out there that can let you go into these sorts of places so quickly and so cheaply and focus your energies. So being the first, we're really opening up Nevada's basins for the first time to systematic exploration. This isn't about throwing Hail Marys. This is about doing it right, casting a net, going tighter and tighter. With these tools, we've built a portfolio of exploration targets. We have 3 projects in play right now, 110 square kilometers. We have another 5 district-scale targets that we're ready to stake. So you can go out and find them, but what are you going to do with all these targets? The second half of what we had to do here is really lower the cost of drilling. Conventional drilling is prohibitively expensive to go out and look undercover and say, what do the rocks look like, right? You can't just go out and map these places. You can't go take your hammer, take a rock, what does it say? So the whole industry is really embracing the idea of low-cost drilling, giving the geologist the drill rig. Go take a look, go find something. Here in Canada and also in Africa, RAB drilling's taken hold. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Sean Ryan at White Gold's doing a good job of using that up in the Yukon. In Australia, they've got same problems that we do. Bort Longyear, big drilling company, the Australian government's working with the oil and gas industry to come up with coiled tube drilling, another way to how do we get this information faster, cheaper, and ultimately test more targets. In Nevada, we've got kind of a unique situation where we have deeper overburden we have to get through. We've had to come up with our own solution. We as a company have worked with some industry experts, and we've built what we understand to be the first small diameter truck-mounted drill rig in the state. So this is what we're using to get bedrock, overburden, groundwater samples down to 150 meters. Our drill costs are $100 a meter. That's all in. That's about a third of what we were paying using conventional drill rigs, and it's right in line with what RAB drilling is costing. So we figured out a made-in-Nevada solution to how do we test these targets fast and cheap. So where are we taking it? Since I was here last time, first place we've been drilling is Kelly Creek Basin. This is in the heart of the Battle Mountain Eureka trend. That trend's produced more than 100 million ounces, more than half of which has come from areas in and around this valley. The center part of the valley, we know from gravity geophysics, is relatively shallow bedrock. It's where we've been focusing. We picked up a land position represented in blue here, and these scorpion drill holes are represented in white. What we're finding is as we now have the scorpion drill rig that allows us to look at the geochemistry for the first time in 3 dimensions. At first, we used the groundwater chemistry, to go across the basin and look down on and see, hey, where are there high concentrations of gold and groundwater? Well, now we can follow them in 3 dimensions down to the bedrock. And what we're seeing is what you'd expect. We have high concentrations of gold and groundwater coming away from a source that we're now tracking to bedrock. We're just tagging into bedrock right now. We're mapping the geology, but what we're finding is, tenth of a gram type material at the base of these gold and groundwater anomalies. This is exactly the sort of material that we'd expect to find above a lone tree, above a marigold. These are the nearest deposit analogs. This is exactly what we designed this program to do, and we're finding it. This is a drill target. We can now justify bringing in core holes, putting some angle holes here and seeing what we got. Otherwise, this is too big of an area. We use groundwater chemistry, we focus, we use scorpion drill rig, we focus, we now have a drill target. Following groundwater chemistry to mineralization has been a huge milestone for us, and that's the biggest thing that's changed. We're drilling there right now. This is likely our last drill shift. As we await final drill results, we'll be working to put forth our deeper drilling plan. In the meantime, we'll be moving the scorpion drill rig down to Grass Valley. This is our second area of focus. Grass Valley, right here, south of Pipeline Cortez. Everyone's familiar with that. That complex today produces 1 million ounces per year. Collectively, it's now approximately 40 million ounces of known gold, what's been produced and in current resources. That's the district scale opportunities that we're looking for in Nevada. Everyone's talking about district scale plays. It doesn't matter what part of the world. This is discovery exploration, but it depends on what part of the world you're in. What does a district look like? Well, we're looking for another Cortez. We're looking for another 1 million ounce producer. If you look at what's happening in the basin in these areas right now, the move recently has been off trend. In orange here, this is where Barrick's been staking last year. Whereas the trends run northwest, southeast, our reinterpretation of the origin of these deposits is letting us know that it's no longer about being focused on the trends. This movement off trend has led us to look at places like Grass Valley. Immediately within viewscape of a world-class gold mine, otherwise covered, previously off trend, this is exactly the sort of place where we're using groundwater chemistry. So likewise, here we are, we brought our groundwater chemistry program to Grass Valley. We found 2 targets with gold and groundwater concentrations similar to what you'd expect around known gold mine. This is where we're bringing the Scorpion next. Specifically, we'll start in the south end. South Grass Valley at the south. That's our planned drilling program. Again, we're tightening the net, and in the coming months, we'll be sharing the final results at Kelly Creek. We'll be moving to South Grass Valley, and in the spring, we expect to move north to North Grass Valley. So yeah, stay tuned and come say hi at the booth.
Thank you, James.